In this video, I'm going to walk you through the best laptops for video editing in 2025. This is my no BS guide that I've made for the past 5+ years. And every year it is loaded with comments that this has been the most helpful video that somebody has watched in their decision-making process of buying a laptop. And that is exactly the reason that I have made this video. This is not fluff. There's no filler. There's no fancy motion graphics. There's just pure raw information to help you make a great buying decision. Now, what I will cover in this video is the CPU, the GPU. Yeah, I'll even keep the little nose sniffs in there. The RAM, the color accuracy, color gamut range, what I think as far as RTX 40 series to RTX 50 series, which laptop I would personally buy with my own money if I were sitting in a position like yourself in 2025 looking for a laptop. We are going to cover all of that in this video, so hang tight till the end. Now, if you're interested in checking out the live pricing and availability of any of the laptops in this video, then head down in the description below and click those links. If you do make a purchase, I'll get a small commission, but at no extra cost to you. But of course, that's what keeps this channel alive and the helpful content coming your way. So I'm so grateful when y'all use those links. It is a absolute lifesaver to me and allows me to keep making these videos and help you guys out. All right, let's dive right in without any more time. Now, what we're going to do as far as covering the specs so you can make a confident buying decision, because I don't want you to just take my recommendations. I want you to understand things, is that as we're working through some of these videos and the idea comes to me, I'm going to talk about, say, RAM or storage or color gamut range or GPU. So we're just going to get rolling into here and I'm going to help you out. Now, the starting price, this might blow some of y'all's socks off, and I apologize, but the way we're doing this is we're going to start at the budget and work our way all the way up to the high-end laptops, and I'm going to talk about why those laptops get more expensive as we go through the video. But the starting price is going to be around the $650 range, and this has kind of been the starting price for the past couple of years. Now, that may sound a bit obnoxious to some of you that is a starting price. But the thing is, again, I'm recommending laptops that I would personally buy. I'm not going to recommend a laptop to you that I think is going to be frustrating to use. It's going to underperform. It's not going to have as good of RAM allocation, so your system gets bottlenecked and then you can't run multiple programs at the same time. How frustrating would that be? Extremely frustrating. I don't want to run into that, and I know neither do you. So my recommendation, if you're looking for a more affordable laptop, is to get a laptop a couple of years old, and this is my top recommendation. So as you can see here, the first OmniBook 5 laptop 16 has a Ryzen 7 8840U chip. Okay, what I would do is I would go back to, say, the Ryzen 7 5700, 5800, or the Ryzen 7 6800. Those are two chipsets that are a couple of years old, or maybe even the 77, whatever it might be. But those are still great chipsets. Now, make sure you get that laptop, that older laptop with 16 gigs of RAM, because if you're going to be doing some video editing, you definitely need 16 gigs of RAM without a shadow of a doubt. Now, for me personally, my recommended is 32 and my optimal is 64, but 16 is a really respectable starting point. Here's the reason. Let's dive into RAM right now. RAM stands for Random Access Memory. If you don't know what RAM is, basically it's the temporary memory that allows you to open and close programs. It's not like you're storing a file on your RAM. That's in your storage drive, your M.2 SSD that's within your laptop. That's where you're storing files. This is your temporary memory that allows your computer to conduct activities, and then once you shut down that activity, it forgets it and waits for you to open another activity, like an application, say Spotify, Google Chrome, Photoshop, Premiere Pro, etc., DaVinci Resolve. So every time you open one of those programs, it pulls from your bank of RAM. And never say RAM memory, because people will laugh at you, because it technically stands for Random Access Memory. So you'd be saying RAM memory. I've been made fun of before in these videos. That's why I say that. Okay, so let's say you're running Premiere Pro. I have seen Premiere Pro, while I'm editing 6K footage, use up to 17 gigs of RAM. 17 gigs. Now, if you're shooting 1080p or 4K, chances are your RAM allocation is going to be anywhere from about 5 to 9 gigs of RAM. So 16 is a respectable place where you can run Premiere Pro and do some multitasking. But again, if you're doing higher resolutions or very complicated projects, I suggest 32 gigs of RAM, but I know we're in the budget section, so I want to be respectful of those budgets. Now, although I use them in my daily workflow, one area that I've not covered in the past on these videos is external storage. And I have had a lot of viewers ask me about this, so I thought I'd include it in this year's lineup. Now, if you're looking for top speeds, I would highly recommend building your own M.2 NVMe drive within an enclosure. You'll get the fastest speeds and at the best price. Now, if you're looking for something more plug and play, ready to go off of the shelf, then a pre-built external SSD is a fantastic option. Now, I use both of them in my workflow. I film directly onto the pre-built SSD, and then I edit off of the faster DIY M.2 enclosure drive. Now, I want to give a huge shout out to Crucial for sponsoring this video. They've just released their P510 PCIe Gen 5 NVMe SSD. It reaches 10,000 megabytes per second read speeds. And those looking for a pre-built, Crucial offers their X10 Pro. Now, if you're curious about the exact pricing or you want to make a purchase, please use the links in the description below. Of course, if you do use those links, I'll get a small commission, but at no extra cost to you. But of course, that's what keeps this channel alive and the helpful content coming your way. Now, one more thing, if you're wondering if you should get a pre-built drive or build your own DIY enclosure, you should definitely check out my full video on the topic. I'll link it up at the end of this video. Okay, let's keep moving forward here. You can see that the OmniBook 5 comes with 62.5% sRGB. That's a low sRGB, and you can see every single laptop on this first page comes with a low sRGB, except for the Apple MacBook Air, but that climbed quickly in price, as you can see, compared to the first laptop. So the thing with laptops getting more expensive is they're going to become more color accurate. That's one of the things that sets the budget-friendly laptops apart, is going to be the low color gamut range. Okay, now while we're here, let's go ahead and get through these laptops, and then we'll talk about color gamut range and color accuracy. Next is the Asus VivoBook 16. Last year's chipset, you can see it's a 7th gen. You can see the 7730. The 7000 in that stands for the 7th gen, 7000 generation. HS series CPU, 16 gigs of RAM, and a 1 terabyte SSD. So getting a little bit more storage than your OmniBook. So really great choice there. Asus VivoBook S14. You're getting the latest Ryzen AI 7 350. Solid chipset, but you only get that 512 gigabytes of SSD, but you still get the 16 gigs of RAM, so we're on par. Now, this next one, the Lenovo Yoga 7i, would have to be one of my favorite laptops that I've reviewed over the past couple of years. It is a fantastic bang for buck. Thin build quality, but some nice, strong materials. You're going to have nice speakers coming out of the side. It's a really nice display to look at. It's not the most color gamut range, but it is nice display to look at. It's a 2-in-1 device, so that makes for a very nice viewing opportunity if you're going to, be chilling out, put it in presentation mode, watch a movie. It's a very flexible laptop, and the build quality is great. And so I consider it the best bang for buck premium budget-friendly laptop. So definitely one to consider if you're thinking about getting the Lenovo Yoga. I highly recommend it. Okay, and then the last one on the lineup is actually my personal device that I've used on the go for a couple of years now. I have the M2 version right here, the M2 MacBook Air 15-inch model with 8 gigs of RAM. And as you can see here, I'm recommending 16 to 32 gigs of RAM. I think the sweet spot for this device at the price point is going to be 24 gigs of RAM for the M4 15-inch model. And that's going to come in around, last I checked, it was like $1,450. When I got this device, the M2, with 8 gigs of RAM a couple of years ago, my out-the-door price with tax was like 16 and some change. So the fact that you can now get 24 gigs of RAM with the latest chipset is absolutely stellar. And you have that 99% DCI P3 color accuracy, which is fantastic. So definitely one of my top recommendations if you're somebody who's considering Mac. I know there's going to be a lot of Windows fanboys and fangirls and a lot of Mac fanboys and fangirls on this video. So I want to be respectful of both because I am OS neutral. I have my main station, which is a Windows MSI Titan 18HX AI, very expensive, very beautiful laptop. But then my on the go right now is a Mac. So I am not a fanboy of either. And if you think I am, well, you're completely mistaken, my friend. Okay, now what we're going to look at now is the color gamut range and color accuracy as promised. So color gamut range is the range of colors, as in how many colors that a computer screen can reproduce. So sRGB will be the smallest range. So if you have a low percentage of the smallest range, you're going to have the less reproducible colors on that screen. As that percentage increases, even though it's a small range, you're going to get more of that range. Whereas you have DCI-P3 and Adobe RGB, these are larger ranges. So you could have the same number. It's not common, but let's just say you have 60% Adobe RGB and 60% sRGB. The Adobe RGB is actually going to count for a larger range because the total range is bigger. Now, when you think about 100% DCI-P3 versus 100% Adobe RGB, which is better? They're not really better, they're just different. The thing is, if you look at the chart I pull up on the screen, they're kind of tilted. They're kind of off kilter. There's one that leans towards hues to the right and the other that leans towards hues to the left, right? Maybe one has more greens where one is a little bit more reds. And so that's the difference between DCI-P3 and Adobe RGB is just a different range, though the same size. Now let's talk about accuracy. The color accuracy is the accuracy at which that range is reproduced by the panel screen. The lower the number on the delta E, the more accurate. Below 2 is very good. Below 1 is excellent. So you're always aiming for the lowest delta E possible. Now, the problem is that information isn't as easily accessible online. Not usually. I will list that information in every single one of my dedicated reviews, but it's something I have to test for with, using my little display tester. So that's a little bit harder to find. That's why I like to list the sRGBs where I can on these videos. So just keep that in mind. Okay, let's keep moving forward here now that we've done a few explainers to make sure you pick the best laptop possible and you have great knowledge. Again, if you're curious about the exact pricing and availability, links are in the description below. And of course, if you do make a purchase of those links, I'll get a small commission, but at no extra cost to you. But of course, that's what keeps this channel alive and the helpful content coming your way, as I always say. Okay, next we're looking at the HP Victus. This is going to be the first laptop with a dedicated GPU. But remember, jumping back here, the Apple MacBook Air M2, I'm able to edit 6K video on the go. It's absolutely insane. So Mac has really fine-tuned one of the best bang for buck laptops, but my favorite Windows laptop is coming later in this video. Okay, HP Victus. This is going to be the best bang for buck 6K video editing laptop and 4K. It's going to have the RX 6550M and 8 gigs of RAM. But do not fear. You're buying this on a budget-friendly price with a dedicated GPU, and then you can upgrade the RAM yourself later. So the most dedicated, most gaming laptops have upgradable RAM. A lot of the thin and light laptops do not. For instance, this Secret laptop does not have upgradable RAM. This laptop does not have upgradable RAM. So just keep that in mind. But this dedicated gaming laptop with a dedicated GPU, the HP Victus, does have upgradable RAM. However, you're going to have a low delta E and a low color accuracy on the HP Victus. Now, next up will be the Asus TUF A16. This is also an AMD Advantage laptop and a great price point. You can see that we have the Ryzen 7 7735HS, so it's going to be a little bit more performance than the Victus. And then we're going to have the latest RX 7700S. Or you can actually get this in the RTX 5070, depending on what you want. Now, this is a little caveat for anybody who's interested in doing 3D modeling. The Radeon GPUs are hands down the best bang for buck when it goes to using a program called SolidWorks. And if you're a 3D modeler, you already know what that program is, so no big deal. I'm going to explain it. But either you're going to have to buy a workstation GPU, which those end up being placed in laptops that are like $4,000 to $7,000, or go for a Radeon GPU from AMD, and they tend to optimize very well for SolidWorks and get some of the best performance. And so that would be the way to get the best bang for buck. I digress though, because this is not a video about 3D modeling. I have an entirely separate video filmed for 3D modeling laptops. You can check it out on my channel. All right, moving forward, the Asus VivoBook S14 and S16 OLED. This comes with the latest Ryzen AI9 365, 24 gigs of RAM. This is a great laptop for some 4K video editing and 1080p video editing. It does not have a dedicated GPU, but that CPU is nice punch and performance. Great for on-the-go editing because you have good battery life matched with great performance. Now, it's not going to be as fast in regards to the export times and really, really smooth playback. on full quality, but if you bump the quality down to say half or fourth quality, you should have smooth playback without any issues. So quality, and of course, this is going to be the first laptop that has 100% sRGB, 100% Adobe RGB, and 100% DCI P3, that VivoBook with the OLED display. That's a little hack too. If you're kind of struggling like, hey, which laptop do I get? I really want color accuracy. Just go for an OLED laptop because they're always going to have the best color accuracy hands down. So just keep that in mind. Next, one of my favorite laptops as far as bang for buck in the 14-inch category is going to be the MSI Cyborg 14. Now, this laptop did not get a refresh on RTX 50 series, but spoiler alert, RTX 50 series saw maybe a 7 to 15% bump in performance. It was not astronomical on average. There are a few outliers, like the MSI Titan, where the export times for 6K B-raw video editing were shockingly better than the RTX 40 series. But as a whole, if you can find an RTX 40 series on sale, I would absolutely pull the trigger. It's going to be worth it. In the end, it's kind of like the whole idea of performance you need versus performance that's available, right? Not everybody needs all the performance that's available, especially if you're on a budget. So look for the best recommendation would be, if you're on a budget, RTX 4060. If you got a mid-size budget, say, $1,500, say like $1,300 to $1,500, look for that RTX 4070. If you've got a little bit higher budget, say $1,800 to $2,200, look for maybe an RTX 4080. And in that price range, though, I'm actually seeing the RTX 5070 Ti in the G14 around that like $2,300, $2,400 price point. But again, maybe you can get an RTX 4080 on sale for like $1,900. That would be insane. So again, do your shopping, try and find what's right. Again, links in the description below. If you want to check the live pricing, I'm going to list as much as I can, but shop around, use those links, make a purchase when you finally decide to. Man, it does. You guys don't even know how much it means to me. It really helps out the channel when you all do that. I know it's like a little extra step, but it really is a big deal to keep our lights on and keep my editor fed. He's kind of expensive. He's great, but he's expensive. Okay, next is the HP Envy 2-in-1 2K. So this is something that you're going to get really solid performance. You're going to have a 2-in-1 laptop. If you're somebody who also dabbles in digital art, pen compatible, could be a great device for you. And the Ryzen 7 8840HS is a solid chipset. 1080p, light 4K is where I would put that device. Just keep that in mind. All right, I didn't even show you that one. My bad on things here. There's the HP Envy. Like I said, this is something that my editor actually isn't doing. This is something that I edit live, and it feels more natural to me. I want this to be more of a conversation, more of my thoughts, walking through things. That's how I love to do these videos year over year. All right, the Lenovo Legion Slim 5 14-inch model. This is a model that they have not brought back. It came out in 2023, and they have not re-released it. 2024, and as far as I know in 2025, which absolutely astounds me because to me, this was hands down probably one of the best laptops that came out of the Lenovo Legion lineup. Great performance, insane performance for the fact that it has an RTX 4060, and in some parts of the world, I've seen it in RTX 4070, but it is far less common. The RTX 4060 version is the highest performing RTX 4060 I have seen. For 16 gigs of RAM, it absolutely blows me away, and it has a 99% sRGB color accurate display. I absolutely adore this laptop. If you can find them, you can find them probably on open box on maybe Best Buy, which I'll link below. They kind of come and go, so you just have to check back. Then also maybe the pre-owned market, but I've yet to see a new one in quite a long time. If they are new, they still held that price tag of around, I think $1,400 new, but you can find them open box for around the $1,000 price point, and it's a stellar device, absolutely stellar. Next up is the MSI Katana 15. The reason I listed this one is great price point at $1,500 for a Ryzen 9 8945HS and an RTX 4070 with 16 gigs of RAM. Now, I'm sure somebody's going to pop in the comments and say, I found an RTX 4070 for $625. Well, happy do. I'm very happy for you, but we all live in the normal price land. So that one-off might be an opportunity. But for most people, I'm trying to find stuff that's attainable and findable in the moment. And finding an RTX 4070 from about the $1,300 to $1,500 price point is fairly realistic. Finding an RTX 4060 from the $900 to the $1,300 price point is fairly realistic. So let's try and face reality here, shall we? Okay. Next up is the Lenovo Legion Pro 5. This is the 2025 version with the latest Ryzen 9 8945HX. This one specifically has the 5060. Oh, honestly, I would spend my money on an RTX 4070 for the $1,600. I really think you're going to get more out of it. I would look for an RTX 4070 Lenovo Legion 5 or 5i from 2024 with 32 gigs of RAM and 1 terabyte SSD, or I'd find one with 16 gigs of RAM on an even better sale and then upgrade the RAM to 32 gigs of RAM post-purchase. I don't know if I would spend my money on 50 series. I've not seen enough evidence of the performance increase to justify that to justify that increase in price and or to justify not snagging a 40 series on a discount, because that's prudence. It's prudence at its finest. Come on, people. Okay, so moving on, the Legion is a fantastic laptop. It had a bit of a redesign, especially when you're looking at the Legion Pro 7i, which I'll talk about here in just a few minutes. That has a pretty sweet redesign. Hopefully going to review one of those in my studio soon. Don't forget though, if you're curious about like my full perspective on a lot of these laptops, I have full reviews, so you can head down to my channel, check out the full reviews if you're interested. Okay, now we're moving on to the MacBook Pro 14 and 16, M4 Pro, M4 Max. As I told you earlier, my MacBook Air 14, my MacBook Air 15 with an M2, I can edit 6K footage on the go. Now, I can't do very complicated edits, and the export times are usually 25 to 30 minutes for a 6 to 9 minute project, but it's still capable. So for me, if I were going to buy an Apple product right now, I would buy a MacBook Air 15 with 24 gigs of RAM and a 1 terabyte SSD. Probably going to put me back around, from Best Buy, $1,400 to $1,700, give or take. But it's going to beat the starting price for the M4 14-inch MacBook Pro. Now, if you're somebody who's like, I'm going to be doing 6K video editing, it's my main workstation, I'm going to be using it all the time, then yeah, go all out. Go for the M4 Pro, go for the M4 Max. You're probably going to need it. But for me, this is more my go-to on-the-go device than it is my like main workstation. For my main workstation, as you can see here, I have my MSI Titan HX AI. It's the 18-inch, right? It's got 4 M.2 SSDs internally. It's got 64, but it can go up to 128 gigs of RAM. I have tons of ports. I have Thunderbolt 5. I have a large 18-inch 4K matte mini LED display. I've got the RTX 5090, right? Tons of performance. So for me to have two high-performing, like ridiculously high-performing laptops is just a waste of money. So that's why I would go for this more mid-tier MacBook Air than I would go for like the M4 Max. But if it's going to be a main workstation, it makes sense to go M4 Max, in my opinion. All right, going ahead to the Asus ProArt P16. Now, for me, the value of this laptop comes with the 4K touchscreen. So it's pen compatible, great device. You can get it in either an RTX 4060, 4070, and coming soon, a 5070, which I'll link below when it is available. I think hands down, I would recommend this laptop in 64 gigs of RAM. I don't see the reason to not go all out and get the 64 gig RAM version. This laptop is not upgradable, and so you might as well future-proof yourself and get it with 64 gigs of RAM. You can get it in 1 terabyte or 2 terabytes, whatever your heart may fancy. That would be where I would be considering this device, especially if you can get it on sale with the RTX 4070 and 64 gigs of RAM. Once the 5070 comes out, it'd be a great price point. Now, the dial is something that a lot of people ask me, is the dial valuable? I don't personally enjoy the dial on the trackpad. I enjoy the physical dial on, say, the 2022 and 2023 versions. I find the dial on the trackpad a little chintzy, a little cheeky, not cheeky, cheeky's the wrong word, just gimmicky. That's kind of the word I'm looking for. It did not serve me as well as I had hoped. And so therefore, I'm not the hugest advocate of it. I'm an advocate of the ProArt series for its performance, for its great color accurate, high resolution, and pen compatible display. And it has great thermals, and it's overall a really solid device, but I wouldn't buy it for the dial and the trackpad alone. Just what I'm trying to put out there. Okay, next up on the lineup is the Lenovo Yoga Pro 9i. This was one of the top selling laptops on my channel in 2024. It has so much value because you have the mini LED display, which is highly color accurate. You have 32 gigs of RAM for the RTX 4060 version. The Intel Core Ultra 9 185H is very efficient, but also very powerful. And the price point is very reasonable for everything you get. And it's a nice premium aluminum build, thin form factor. It's just such a great device. It makes sense. It packs a lot of punch into a good price point. 4K and 6K video editing are definitely capable on this device, and the screen is color accurate, really nice to look at. It's a glossy display, but if I can go for a bang for buck, it is a great device. Now, some of you might be deciding between, say, a Lenovo Legion Pro 5 or Pro 5i and the Lenovo Yoga Pro 9i. Keep in mind that this has 100 watts of maximum graphics power, the Lenovo Yoga 9i, Pro 9i. So it's going to get great performance out of the RTX 4060. But when you think about a Lenovo Legion Pro 5i, it's going to have 135 watts of maximum graphics power. And basically what that means is the amount of power that it's pulling from the wall, from the charger as it comes into the machine, that at that point, it's going to allow 135 watts, which means that RTX 4060 is going to have 100 watts capable of producing performance. Whereas with the Legion, it's going to have 135 watts. So though they have the same GPU, the Legion is going to be more powerful than the Yoga Pro 9i with the same spec out. Just keep that in mind. So if you're looking for that edge in performance, that boost, then I would definitely go Lenovo Legion Pro 5 or 5i over the Yoga Pro 9i. But you're going to have more color accuracy out of the Yoga Pro 9i. So if that's important to you, Yoga Pro 9i would be where I'd go. Okay, next up on the lineup is going to be the Asus Republic of Gamers Strix G16. Now, this laptop is a beast. You can get it in two configurations, the 8945HX or the 9955HX 3D, RTX 5070 Ti, 32 gigs of RAM. If you have the budget, I'd honestly recommend going for that 9955HX 3D. When you're doing a lot of multitasking, the CPU is called on a lot for making the decisions and organizing the information. And that 9955HX 3D is one of the top tier processors available on the market right now. It is an absolute beast. And so for me, if I'm going to go balls out for the Strix G16, I might as well spend the extra $500 and get that incredible processor. Now, some of you might not have the budget, and the 8945HX will be great as well, especially paired with the 5070 Ti. But if I was going to make a recommendation, I'd go all the way up to the HX 3D version. Next is the HP Omen Transcend 14. This is the latest iteration. This is the refresh, same design. Love this laptop from last year. It was an awesome redesign when it came out in 2023. No, 2024. I'm sorry. I keep forgetting. We're in 2025. And so $2,039 is only an extra $39 off of the price. So it only went up $40 from going from last year to this year. So everybody wondering like, tariffs! The sky is falling! $40 is the hit. That's $40. Could have gone out and got a really great meal from Olive Garden and a slice of cheesecake. I totally get it. But it wasn't like it went up like hundreds of dollars because of the current tariff situation as we see at the moment, right? Things could change. But RTX 5070, 32 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte SSD, and the latest Intel Core 9 285H. Also the Alienware Aurora 16X. This is the newest from Alienware, the 16-inch model, the 275HX from Intel Core Ultra 9, and the RTX 5070 with 32 gigs of RAM. This is it's not their top tier, but in my opinion, it's their best bang for buck offering currently. And then, of course, we have the Asus Republic Gamer Zephyrus G14 and the G16. Keep in mind, for the G14 and the G16, we have Intel Core Ultra for the G16, and then we have Ryzen AI 9 HX 370 for the G14. So these are the two models I don't have the latest refreshes, but they're the exact same design. They just have new internal components this year. Hopefully I'll get the refreshes soon so we can do full reviews, but that is the devices as they exist right now. So keep that in mind. Those are going to be great. The G14 year over year has been one of my favorite devices. And so definitely a great pick. On the go, great form factor, great total graphics power, thermal management, one of the best battery lives when you turn it on to eco mode. So it's a great all-arounder laptop that I highly recommend. Okay, we're going to be slipping over to the next page here. And this, to me, is one of the top laptops that I would recommend. But it's not even really a laptop. So this is the Asus ROG Flow Z13. This is AMD's revolutionary, in my opinion, revolutionary AI Max Plus 395. Just throw away the AI and look at the Max Plus 395 because this device is the most powerful non-dedicated GPU equipped laptop on the market. There is no laptop more powerful in the Windows category, of course, than this device because, you know, comparing apples to oranges, we might have a lot of hate to swim through if we make that complete claim. Problem with this laptop for me, it's a tablet. And for me, I don't prefer the tablet form factor. It just doesn't make sense for my workflow, for how I like to use a laptop. And so it's a bit of a killjoy for me. But it is incredibly powerful. It is on par with an RTX 4060 full performance or an RTX 4070 at anywhere from 65 to 80 watts, roughly. So it is insane that the new Radeon 8060S is so powerful. Which leads me to my favorite laptop from 2025. The HP ZBook Ultra G1A. This takes the same chipset and puts it into a clamshell device, an all aluminum device with up to 128 gigs of RAM, And both of these laptops, you can allocate as much RAM to the GPU from the CPU or vice versa. Sorry, no, not from the CPU. You can allocate RAM to be used as random access memory for like the whole system, or you can specifically give it to the GPU, the integrated graphics, for VRAM. And so I was testing this, and the sweet spot for this device is going to be like 64 gigs of RAM. I think 128 gigs of RAM is awesome, but I think for most people using this device, you're never going to fully realize the 128 gigs of RAM usage. I would not go for 32. Both of these devices come for 32. And if you're going to buy a device of this performance and this power, I would just go for the 64 personally. However, you may not have the budget, and I totally respect that. However, for the Z13, I think it's like $22.99 for 32 gigs of RAM or $23.99 for 64 gigs of RAM. So there it's a no-brainer. Might be a different story with pricing on the ZBook. Okay, the ZBook is amazing. Like I said, aluminum design, upward-facing speakers, a manual click trackpad. Praise the Lord. I'm not a fan of haptic trackpads on every Windows device yet. I like some haptic trackpads, but I'm not diehard enough to say, yeah, throw them on every laptop, and things are going to work out just fine and dandy. Famous last words. So that is where this device is like my dream boat. This is my 2025 laptop. It can edit 6K video like crazy. It can do 3D modeling. And it has integrated graphics, right? The Radeon 8060S, that new Strix Halo. So I could fanboy more about this device, but then you'll just get mad at me. So moving on. All right. So that was the first and the last one on the lineup on this page. Now let's go to the HP Omen Max. Now my biggest complaint about the HP Omen Max 16 Max is of course going to be the fact that they decided to put Thunderbolt 4 when Thunderbolt 5 was available. And they were saying that this is going to be their top contender for the year. This was like going to be the most powerful and beastly laptop that was made. Well, then why'd you put Thunderbolt 4 in it? Thunderbolt 5 was available to future-proof. Transfer speeds, peripheral connectivity, it just made so much more sense. However, it is still a fantastic laptop, super powerful. When you compare it to the Strix Scar, the Lenovo Legion Pro 7i, the MSI Titan 18, it is right there in the pack. And so if you're a big Omen fan, if you love with me, this keyboard, this super colorful light up keyboard, don't think I have enough battery power to turn it on, then this is an awesome choice, and you cannot go wrong with that. Now, some of you might be wondering, okay, Ben, what about this laptop? Or what about that laptop? Or I found this laptop in Bangladesh, or I found this laptop in the Philippines. I do not really have access openly to all the different markets. And on top of that, a lot of people in the past have asked me in the comment section if I would recommend another laptop that I did not list on my lineup. And there was a season of about a year and a half or 2 years where I said, you know what? I'm going to list every laptop I can find with the specs that I think are good, even if I don't like the overall laptop design or certain things about the laptop. So that way we can, mitigate a lot of those questions of would you like this one or would you not? The problem with that is I wouldn't purchase those laptops with my own money. So I went back to this strategy. Every laptop that is on these lineups, I would buy with my own money. If it's not on in this lineup, I'm not going to buy it with my own money. Okay? So just that's that. So if you want to comment below and ask somebody else in the comment section, hey, would you buy this laptop? You might be able to get some feedback, but I've only listed the laptops that I would personally buy with my own money because I want to list the highest quality and most authentic lineup of laptops I possibly can. So little caveat out of the way that I always want to mention now that I'm really revising these lineups more and more. Okay, Lenovo Legion Pro 7i. If you want, hands down, just the most powerful and one of the best devices, the Lenovo Legion Pro 7i is completely annihilates most stuff on the market. And as I mentioned, the HP Omen Max 16, the Lenovo Legion Pro 7i, and the Strix Scar, as well as the MSI Titan, are fighting to be the king, the crown jewel of laptops. And in my opinion, the Legion Pro 7i just hits the mark. Now, there's a lot of controversy around that. A lot of people don't like that, it's a company that's fully produced and owned in China. There's all this controversy about, HP does this or MSI does that or the quality of this or that. So you have to make your own decision. But I think that Lenovo makes an incredible product when it comes to the Legion Pro 7i. Can't hate them for that. In my opinion, it is a great device. Now, the next up, of course, on the lineup is the laptop that I am using in 2020. Sorry for all the skipping around, in 2025. And that is the MSI Titan 18. It is right here, sitting right here on my desk, running this recording as we speak. And so I'm using the Intel Core Ultra 285HX. That is a mistype, HH. It's the HX, but it's also available in the Ryzen 9 9955HX if your heart so desires. And I've seen it in the RTX 5080 as well as the RTX 5090. So make the choice, see what best works for you. But those options are available, and the price point is quite diverse. You can start at around $3,600 and go up to all the way to about $7,000 depending on how you have it configured. Now, don't forget that there are links in the description below if you want to make a purchase or check the live pricing. In addition, there is also a bunch of reviews, dedicated reviews of all these laptops if you want to get a deeper perspective on the laptops. And so, of course, you can click or tap the screen here to find more videos from my channel, or just go on over to my channel and check things out. I really appreciate you all taking the time to watch this video. Comment below if you have any questions, because those do influence my future videos and things that I add, things that I take away. So I appreciate when you all comment as well. See you all in the next one.